We now have a full field for the G1 Climax, and there was a sense of relief in the wrestlers who captured the final spots, although Hiroki Goto will be missing the whole thing. We'll talk about that, plus the two shows we had this week, a few title matches, a young lion joining a faction that's not a faction, and another retirement announcement. We'll get right to it. With Jeremy Finestone, I'm Stephen Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Mokuyobi Des, it's Thursday, and welcome everyone to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. And we have had a couple of shows, one at the Tokyo Budokan, one at Korakuen Hall, and a lot happened this past week. I have to say, it was a fairly newsworthy week, Jeremy. It's covering the gauntlet of things from young lions making moves to some of
Let me tell you, this week it's just come at me fast, and that was just one of the things, and now we have a full field.
Yeah. So, yeah, Brad is here. Colin is here. Glad you're both with us. So we're going to get right into this thing because what do you think we should talk about first out of all this? Tiger Mask announced that he will be retiring in July of 2026. And Daiki Nagai seems to have joined unaffiliated. In addition to that,
new, something borrowed, something blue.
Hiroki Goto out of the G1 Climax, and we don't know, to be fair, if it's a kayfabe injury or he is actually hurt.
Goto out, Taichi in.
Yeah, so what we had was a G1 match also that got us to Taichi and in that tournament, which was certainly the best match of the week and one of the better New Japan matches in a while. So it's been an entertaining 7 days. Yes,
what a wacky week, right? Like we didn't game plan before, like we came out here. We're playing fast and loose, figuring out our plan as we go, and that just feels like the week that New Japan was. On the 4th, we had no idea there was going to be a gauntlet match on the 6th. On the 6th, we didn't know there was a potential match of the year candidate that was going to be thrown in our laps in the middle of a gauntlet match. That was the kind of week it was, And you and I actually, we did a watch back of Omega and Okada with Garrett that you can catch on this channel actually, and it felt like we were revisiting the past, but there were shades of what was going on right now when you watch that Wrestle Kingdom. Like you looked at it and you're just like, I see so many things that are happening here that like I can see reflections of right now. It was wild.
It definitely was. And, Colin mentions that Taichi should have been in the G1 anyway. I feel the same way. I'm a big fan of the guy. I'm not unconvinced that this was the plan all along. Again, we don't really know that Goto was truly hurt in that Zack Sabre Jr. title change or not. It's been a little vague on that end. So this could have been the plan
whatever they tell me on the whole thing.
Yeah. So, and really Brad is telling us that Tony Khan announced Shibata versus Gabe Kidd for Collision tonight.
Sure.
In a teacher versus student match. It's very likely the Kid will be part of All In Texas, and he will be he'll certainly be part of Forbidden Door. So he's still doing.
I got a prediction for Forbidden Door for Gabe Kidd.
Okay.
Eddie Kingston.
You think Eddie's ready to come back?
I think Eddie Kingston and Gabe Kidd are going to run it back at Forbidden Door. And everybody will cheer. It will be a violent match. I don't know if it's going to be the best match either would have, but I think it'll be pretty darn interesting.
All right. So should we start with Friday's show on the 4th?
Sure. Let's recap the important stuff.
All right. So we looked at this show here at the Tokyo Budokan, and this is not the Nippon Budokan. Those are two different places. Mm-hmm. The Nippon Budokan, the more historic building of the two. Nippon Budokan, known as much as a concert venue as anything else. The Beatles played there. Cheap Trick live album, live at Budokan. That's the classic Cheap Trick album there, and a lot of others. Is that one. And then, of course, that was the home of All Japan Pro Wrestling and things. This is a different building. It's in a different part of Tokyo, the Tokyo Budokan. And they had 1,377 at this one.
Not great.
That's not great at all. I mean, that doesn't fill Korakuen. In fact, the Korakuen show on the 6th drew more. So it tells you a little bit. It also felt like a bigger show, by the way. I thought the Sunday show felt like a bigger show than this one did.
The Sunday before or the Sunday after?
No, the 6th. I felt like Sunday's show felt like a bigger show.
29th felt like a bigger deal too.
Yeah.
This felt like oh yeah, and this one too.
The 6th was Bushiroad Day, by the way. There was a Stardom at Korakuen as the matinee that day, and then Stardom packed up and New Japan moved in. So the 6th was a big day for Bushiroad at our classic home here. But this one is at the Budokan, and it started off with Tetsuya Matsumoto versus Zane J. Time limit draw. Again, that's what they're doing around the horn. We'll talk a little bit more about these two when we get to Sunday's show. And Brad says Korakuen always feels bigger. Yeah, I mean, unless they're going to Sumo Hall or they're going to obviously the Dome. But sometimes they run shows at the Nippon Budokan, like G1 finals. Those feel like big shows, but this one just didn't. And then we had a tag team match with the other Young Lions, Daiki Nagai and Katsuya Murashima. They defeated Masatori Yasuda and Shoma Kato. Now, this was a win for Nagai over Yasuda, and it turns out they were telling us the beginning of a story here.
Yes.
Nagai and Murashima, by the way, have developed some good teamwork moves down. These two, Nagai and Murashima, to me, are the class of the Young Lion field right now. I think they're the two best. And
the 1A, 1B kind of thing.
Murashima is certainly close, I would say, to, if he's going to go on excursion, he's got to be close to going on it. And then Nagai, he started making noise after this one that he would like to join up with the unaffiliated crew, that being Shingo Takagi, Yota Tsuji, and Hiromu. Nothing happened in the Tokyo Budokan except him mentioning it in backstage comments, and that was to set things up for Sunday.
Which was a very low-key big development.
Yeah, I think so too. And then after that, we had, this is an all skate here. So we had Hantai versus HOT, and that's Shota Umino, Taichi, Tiger Mask, Ishii, and Nagata. They faced the House of Torture team of Togo, Douki, Evil, Sanada, Kanemaru. This one was mostly Tiger Mask and Nagata more than anything else. Taichi went after Douki to start. It was only 7.5 minutes. This was kept short, thankfully. I appreciated that Taichi went after Douki, Jeremy, just to have some continuity there, that Taichi would be upset with him for leaving the way he did. And but they didn't do much in the match. But nevertheless, that was a win for the Hantai team, that one. But with Dick Togo in there, that's how it's going to go.
I felt like the backstage comments for this one did a lot of heavy lifting to justify why Douki left.
Yeah, kind of.
It tried to.
It tried. Yeah, I guess that's the key, is it tried. And
so he was mad that they didn't talk to him about joining Hantai. And at the same time, he saw that Sho was one of his most fierce opponents, and he thought that they could do a lot of damage together. And I was like, well, you tried.
You tried. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, too, is that Chris Charlton has been trying to help out as best he can. He was on commentary. Walker, I'm pretty sure we'll be back for the G1, but for right now, it was Chris handling duties by himself for the most part. And he kept trying to say, well, you join House of Torture because House of Torture is making money. They have these sponsorship deals, and that's how you make money, like the other factions aren't, which is kind of ridiculous.
A beautiful head of hair is going to make its own amount of money. You don't need to be in a faction for that.
The fact that they are fighting so hard to come up with things like, he did it for the money, or I don't like Watto and I respect, you know what I mean? Like, this stuff's so thin, it shows how poorly booked it is, that they have to stretch and come up with the lamest excuses in wrestling for a turn in order to explain away Douki's otherwise rich and interesting story. So this is, another point against House of Torture for me. They don't have a good reason why he joined. They just don't. They just said, well, we need another guy over here, and Douki's another guy. So there it is.
It's totally regressive. I keep using that word, but regressive is, they're simplifying everything, and it's not complex reasons for why these individuals are making these complex decisions to completely change their life. There are these very simple, very one or two note reasons, and you're like, blah, blah, like, okay, that's their, speak and spell reason. Okay, let's keep on moving.
We will do so. After that, we did have the unaffiliated crew of Hiromu Takahashi, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji. they defeated the United Empire. United Empire came out with a voice actor and artist again. This is part of what Great Okan has been doing, bringing in people from the anime world, the video game world, and putting them in the United Empire corner. I think it's a clever move. I'm sure those people have good social media followings, and it's probably bringing some attention anyway to New Japan that might not be there before. Mafia Kajita was the man's name. And I like that they're doing it. I think it's something interesting. They aren't overextending it. This person isn't jumping in the ring and interfering. They're coming to the ring with them and maybe getting some social media attention. I think it's solid work. It was a fine match. Nothing wrong with it. About 10 minutes. Shingo defeated Jacob Austin Young with Made in Japan. And the development wouldn't be until Sunday for the unaffiliated crew.
Yeah, I mean, this just felt like they were setting up for everything that they had going on. The G1 and, the siege plan of Daiki Nagai. There wasn't anything particularly interesting about it other than it's just, these guys are staying healthy before the big matches.
Well, that's partially true as well. All right, so we moved on from that one, and it was another six-man tag. This is Desperado, Oleg Boltin, and Yuya Uemura. They defeated the TMDK crew, Hartley Jackson there to protect everybody. Kosei Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. were the others. Again, under 10 minutes, so we're moving along here. We're keeping this show going. Uemura beat Jackson, and I basically no notes. There was really nothing to it, just a simple preview tag in the middle of the show.
They're really trying to sell that Zack was going to do anything to win this title, and he's kind of turned a heelish new leaf before the G1.
A little bit. Ish, right? Though it's not a full blown heel turn.
Shitty British guy.
Yeah, I mean it's not the whining, tantrum throwing Suzuki-gun Zack, that would throw around the barricades when he lost. Oh, no. It's not that Zack yet, but he's showing maybe a bit of an edge that he's willing to go a little further. I think when he lost the title to Goto, perhaps the character is saying, I held back a little bit. Maybe I was being too nice. Maybe I didn't go far enough, and I won't make that mistake again.
Yeah, he was really explaining that everyone should have known he was going to do anything to win that title, and the fact that Goto got injured as a result of it, it's like, well, oh, what? Yeah. And it's one of those like, that's kind of break.
Yeah, he's very sure he doesn't have to apologize for anything, so that's
and he shouldn't. But it's also you're accentuating it. You're leaning into it. There's not. Right. It's not that he did it. It's that he's talking about it as if like, and it's not like I don't have any remorse for Goto being out of the G1. He's the champion. He should have known the cause coming in. I'm like, man, dude, like, okay, we get it.
After that, we had the play-in matches for the G1 Climax. So it began with Ryohei Oiwa and Satoshi Kojima. They kept this one short also. This one was only about 10 minutes. They had a lot of matches on the show. And Oiwa defeated Kojima. We all expected that he would, certainly. Mm-hmm. But it was a good match. Kojima is terrific for his age, and he's still better than a lot of guys that are younger than he is. But there was no doubt about the result. It was smart to put this first, Jeremy. All the jeopardy was kind of in the next one. Right. Yoshihashi versus Chase Owens. No one expected Satoshi Kojima to beat Ryohei Oiwa and go into the G1. So the match was fine. It had no suspense right here. So it was smart to put it here in front of all the title matches, in front of the other play-in match. So Ryohei Oiwa moves into Block A. The finish was interesting, though. You know how Kojima likes to do the lariat. So he went for the lariat, and it was blocked, and then he was hit with the grip, which is a lariat. So a little bit of
lariat to doom.
the younger boy defeating the older wrestler with essentially the same move right there. So very selfless from Kojima to put him over like that, and looking ahead to the
do some business this week, wasn't he?
He was.
He didn't have to work too hard on Sunday either, but he did what he had to do.
No, Kojima has always been selfless in that sense. Absolutely. He's always been willing to put the younger generation over. He is not the Ricky Choshu of this crew.
Like you
He saw Riki Choshu. Like he had to try to come up when Riki Choshu was still around, and Kaiji Muto, neither one of which enjoyed putting over anybody younger than them. And I think he decided to swing the other direction with it.
Let me ask you this. What difference did you see between the Satoshi Kojima that we watched on these two shows and the Satoshi Kojima we saw at Wrestle Kingdom 11?
Well, I mean, the Kojima back then still a little bit more mobile, but it's less of a difference than I saw in a lot of other people from that
wrestling card. He is very well preserved. He knows what he can do. Yeah. And like I just watched him as like, if you're doing the same stuff now that you were doing 9 years ago, maybe that was a little like slow down the pace. But hey, you're still moving and you're still here and you're still looking way better than a bunch of other people of your contemporaries.
You're right. And the other thing about Kojima, if you go back and watch him when he was in his prime, when he was a champion, of course, he held the Triple Crown title and the IWGP title at once, for instance. So he was a top star in 2 different promotions for a while. You see that he had outstanding timing. He worked strong style very well, meaning he was stiff but safe. The difference between he and a lot of the other guys, he didn't take the falls on his neck the way Naito did. There aren't a lot of Kojima matches where you watch him between your fingers like you do with Naito's, and certainly with Naito and Ibushi.
Risk for excitement.
He didn't fly a lot, so not a lot of impact on his hips or his knees or his elbows because he's splattering himself off the top rope. And just a smart working style that has lent itself to longevity, and it's something he has taken advantage of. He can still go over there and put people over. He can still have an entertaining match. It's the MLW champion, and it works. It doesn't look like an old man doddering around the ring. And a lot of it is because he's worked with his head instead of bashing it in.
And you've seen like legitimate growth from everybody else in that match, right? Like Fale probably, I hate to say it, 8 Fale in the year beyond. You've seen what happened to Hangman Page, Will Ospreay, Ricochet. Like Finley is in there, and he just looks like a baby boy with those little Prince trunks, and you're just like, wow, it that was 9 years ago, 8.5 years ago, and it's just like some of these people don't move too well at all. Some of them are doing it. Sonata, the change. He had a peak at Valleys, then you just see Evil just moving along, and it's just wild to me.
And Kojima's still cooking in there. So
Kojima's still cooking.
After that, the Block B play-in match was Yoshihashi and Chase Owens. Now,
never had a doubt.
I wish I could say the same. I saw a glimmer of hope in Yoshihashi being on that Wrestle Magic show with Noah on the other side of Oiwa. I just thought, 2 guys in play-in matches. Maybe they want to give a little shine to some G1 participants here. And thank goodness. So Chase Owens has a new song. And
I knew you were going for it. I was waiting for this.
It sounds like a parody of a country song. It is done with a cartoonish drawl, and I think it's him trying to sing. It's awful. It's cartoonish, and I can see it absolutely getting over someday.
In Japan, sure. I think it's a meme over here.
Yeah, probably so.
It is 100% a meme. No, I mean, this is the right call. Go ahead and go for it. But right call was made.
Yeah. And anyway, this was fine. Actually, no interference from House of Torture at all in this one, which was bizarre. In fact, the fact that Yoshihashi hit Karma and then pinned Chase surprised a lot of people in the crowd who normally just wait for House of Torture to interfere. And it didn't happen. So that when the
smiling from ear to ear with the Queen match,
when the finish came, it was a bit of a shock. So we found out very soon afterwards that we weren't free of Chase Owens quite yet in the G1. Again, I talk about it a lot. There is a use for Chase Owens in this thing. I just don't understand the House of Torture bit. Like I said, they don't need people to eat pins. He can have a good match and he can protect the stars. That's his best utility. There are a ton of guys in House of Torture, period, let alone guys that can eat the pin. That's my issue. If you start putting him up higher than that, then I have a bit of a problem. He isn't at that level as a worker. So I did not want to see a bunch of Chase Owens singles matches in the G1, and I won't. So that was a relief. But 12 minutes, 3 seconds, Yoshihashi through, and we'll get to see Yoshihashi matches instead of Chase matches. So in my mind, that's winning. We'll still see how much House of Torture there is in our G1 coming up soon. And Brad mentions Black Fart Chase Owens, because I mean it does look like a bad knockoff of Black Fart.
Brad wigged the internet on that one.
Yeah. Well, he says we have Hangman Page at home. Well, yeah, it still just looks like he's doing a knockoff of Ricky Harris's act from the mid 80s. And Black Bart, the Mid-Atlantic champion, Mid-Atlantic tag team champion and things. And again, I mentioned before, the difference is that Ricky Harris can cut a promo and Chase doesn't really. Doesn't need to either, for that matter. But it's
Chase is a good hand.
He's a good hand, but let's cool ourselves on that.
The thing about this whole feud was I don't remember one time where I think Yoshihashi got a significant pin on Chase Owens in the run up to this match, and I was like, I think Yoshihashi's winning this, just because they want you to believe that Chase Owens is, he has to win all these matches for you to think that he's going to win.
Right. And then we moved on to the never open weight 6-man tag team titles. It's a title match here, Jeremy, but this felt much more like a preview tag for the junior heavyweight title match coming up on the 6th, to me anyway. This was not anything special. It's 12 minutes, and they played up DOUKI and Wato a lot, trying to hold on to something here. And of course, that one does go back a ways. Fair enough. Of course, DOUKI attacked Wato when he made his debut. That was the angle. Wato came out the way of the Grand Master, and they revealed him to be Hirai Kawato as Master Wato back from his excursion in Mexico, and then DOUKI attacked him. And they had a little bit of a mini feud to begin, as DOUKI was teed off that he got a big debut when DOUKI kind of slunk in as a replacement for Desperado. So that was fine. They went back to that. The non-Yujiro and non-Yano stuff was fine. The match had moments, but it wasn't great. There was a double low blow by Yano. Yo threw a bag over Yujiro's head. He got rolled up. But to me, this thing still just set up the tag title match more than anything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the never open weight titles bounce around like a Super Bowl. So
they're the least important multi-man titles in the company. I would say they're even less important than the strong titles sometimes, because they I don't know. Even when they can be defended, they're forgotten about. Yeah.
And so I felt like this is just that setup for that. So
you know what else I noticed in this?
What else did you notice in this?
They've really de-escalated the outside props for Yano.
Okay.
He doesn't. I don't remember the DVD. Maybe he did, but he's not taping people up. He's not handcuffing people. It's more just the babyface side of low blows and all that stuff. I don't know, the truly outlandish aspects of his persona have been dialed back, I feel like, to a more manageable level, and I don't know why that is, but I feel like I've noticed that. Have you?
Just doing a little bit less there. I mean, they haven't put the emphasis on him. He hasn't had a match where he was the important part of it in a very long time.
Right. He's been super comedy probably for the better part of 10 years.
Well, and they also had it where, he was, again, we saw Wrestle Kingdom 11, right? He and Ishii were regular participants in the tag team tournament. And when it's 2-on-2 and in a tournament setting, he does more of it, like the tape and taping people to the rails and, pulling rolls of tape out of his trunks and all that kind of stuff. But again, when you're the fourth guy out of 5 in a 10-man tag, there's just not a lot of room for that. And that's really how he spent most of the last few years. He's not, he hasn't done G1 in a minute. He's not going to this year. So
yeah, he's been out of the light a while. And, this feels like the first time I've actually seen a real emphasis on him, even anywhere like a belt or anything, in a good long time.
After that, we have the IWGP Global Heavyweight title match. This is Gabe Kidd defending against Hiroshi Tanahashi. And this one went a while. This one went 24 minutes. This is why some of this other stuff was over with quickly here. Kidd was only a tad heelish in this one. A little rough with Tana, but nothing too severe. Tanahashi pulling out the aces high all the way to the floor, jumped off the ropes all the way to the floor, and Gabe was there to catch him, thankfully. Kid attempted a high fly flow. We would think after the senton and this, he should know by now to stay on the ground. This is not going to be his forte. Of course, he missed the high fly flow. You don't hit Tanahashi with the high fly flow. Let's see.
High
Tanahashi
fly flow.
Tanahashi hit aces high, then went for the high fly flow and couldn't get over the top rope the first time. Had to, how he kind of throws himself over the top rope, and it's been closer and closer over the last year of him throwing that leg over the top and getting it. He didn't make it this time. That was a little bit painful to watch. A little bit when Naito couldn't really do a Destino anymore or hit that tornado DDT. You just start to see time catching up, and time's caught up and passed Tanahashi. It led to a pile driver. Gabe Kidd won the thing. It felt to me as I watched this that the match was good, not great, and that Kidd had to work very hard to make Tanahashi look credible.
Yeah, I thought I was crazy when I felt like that match meant more to Gabe Kidd than it meant to anybody else. It was just that match. There was an audience of he didn't care who was watching. He was going to do this match, and he was going to get his feelings out, and then he was going to be able to move on and close the chapter of his life and say goodbye to a mentor and a friend and someone that was really clearly very important to him over the last 5 years and beyond. And really important match for him, but I just thought it was just okay. You know what I mean? And it wasn't anything other than you could tell that if you don't care about heels and faces and you don't care about anything other than these two clearly loved each other and wanted to have as best of a match that they had with each other and get the audience behind it, it's almost like they overthought it. It's like they tried too hard, and part of the organic aspect of it was forced. And I don't know if that's just me, but I'm very happy that they had this match. I may revisit it at some point. I don't know. But it felt like this was almost like a goodbye for both of them.
And with Kidd, I don't know if it was a goodbye for Kidd. What Brad mentions here, I was worried about Tana at times, but damn, I love the man. He can run off Aura for 10 more years at least. Knees be damned. I think Tanahashi would disagree on the knees thing. I think Tanahashi is truly finished right there physically and wants to be. I think he knows that he just can't do what he used to.
100%. The reality,
sure,
tough.
Yeah. And Gabe said some very interesting things in the post-match promo. He said that he's been open about having his mental health struggles,
right,
and that at times he has been suicidal, and at times has had to go away from the wrestling business to get himself back together. He mentioned in the post-match promos that Tanahashi was there for him during those times, and sometimes they would just sit and talk for an hour. And you think about that, Gabe was a young lion at the time. Tanahashi still one of the major stars of the company, still is today, really, even if he can't do what he used to do. And the fact that Tanahashi would sit on the phone with a young lion who was hurting and sometimes talk for a while, different languages that aren't native to either one. Gabe speaks Japanese pretty effectively. I don't know if he did then. Tanahashi's English is okay, but they managed. And Kidd said flat out, I don't know if I'm here if it weren't for some of those conversations and if it weren't for Tanahashi. So, yeah, Jeremy, this one was a big one for Gabe.
Sure.
I think it meant a lot for Tanahashi.
Sure.
And there were some very real feelings behind this one that came across to the crowd. And it helped the match. Again, physically, I don't think the match was anything particularly special, but when you bring in real emotion like that, it does have an effect.
It resonates on a different level that you don't really grade on a typical wrestling match scale. Like Gabe Kidd still had the match of the year with Kenny Omega. And if you remember that, you saw Tanahashi ringside openly weeping over this match. And it wasn't because he was proud of Kenny Omega, okay? It was because it was a moment of validation for him and for Gabe that like everything that they put into each other, like it it blossomed into something that Tanahashi considered beautiful. You know, like there was a full like rebirth of this guy. He became like the man he was supposed to be, and Tanahashi was just so proud of him. And you know, like that relationship, none of us are ever going to truly understand it. You know, like it is unique to only them. But man, like if you ever had like a mentor mentee kind of scenario, the pride you have in each other is pretty important.
Brad mentions that Kid's post match was great with his words to Tana both crying. He said Gabe, Tana, and Eddie Kingston should form a positive crying unit. Hey, that's but all of those people are good at bringing real emotion into their storylines and characters in a way that blends the two, in a way where you can get behind the angle a little more, even though you know you're kind of being worked a little bit on it. Just that bringing that reality into it and willing to put it out there. Eddie's struggles and almost having to leave the business, sell his gear in order to pay his bills and just give up on the wrestling business before that fateful call to answer Cody's open challenge on AEW. And they're very good at making you feel what they feel, or at least what they want you to feel. And it's very helpful. Maria Graciela Sias is here. Glad you're here. Robert Dinkins had a comment here. He says, I'm happy that AEW has partnerships with New Japan, CMLL, Mexico, and Rev Pro, Great Britain. It allows a lot of flexibility and allows you to bring in a lot of interesting guests. And we're going to be seeing that with Gabe. I'm almost sure he's in Dallas. Well, I guess he would be if he's a Collision, isn't he? But he'll be at that. He'll be at that All In somewhere.
I think he's in a match.
Okay.
I think he's one of the. I think he's one of the Death Riders challenging the Ops for the 6-man titles.
Would be interesting if Eddie were the surprise in that one, right? Coming out and trying to thwart somebody else as
that would be... I think he's getting close. I think by August. You know, if tomorrow or Saturday is not the day, I think Eddie's coming back pretty soon.
How are ticket sales for that show, Jeremy? Do you know?
All In?
Yes.
They are circling 25,000.
25,000.
Yeah, they
that's
over
outstanding.
The last couple of days, they passed 18, I think, on Saturday or Sunday, and then quietly before Dynamite, they hit 20, and I think over like the after Dynamite, I think it was like 23,000, and with the way it's kind of trending, like 25 is it will probably hit 25,000.
Well, that's a nice morale boost, considering that how awful the attendance has been for Dynamite and Collision. Then to get something like this again, it goes back to what I've been talking about. Is that you know that an AEW pay-per-view is going to deliver.
It's going to deliver.
There's just less nonsense and garbage you got to sit through. But
it's the payoff, you know.
Yeah.
Like this is the 12 ounces of beer in an 8-ounce can kind of thing. It's like there's a lot of beer in this can.
Well, good. That's I'm that good. That's I'm happy. I know I sound sometimes like I don't like AEW. I'm frequently disappointed by it. I guess is the whole thing. But I want it to do well. I want it to be better than it is for sure. And I do want it to succeed in that sense. So I'm glad that they're having a healthy crowd. For this pay-per-view.
Successful, everybody, it's better for everybody. You may not like all the pro wrestling that's successful, but if more eyes are on it, pro wrestling will survive.
Yeah, I want there to be 100 successful promotions. I want there to be 100 of them. Yeah,
not just 5. Speaking of AEW All In, I had a plan to do a post show afterwards, but my podcasting partner for this one had to bounce out at the last minute. And so I am currently deciding whether I'm going to run solo with audience feedback about the show, because there'll probably be plenty to talk about. I have no doubt that I could get through a 90-minute show recapping everything that happened in AEW All In.
Especially because it's probably going to be a 6-hour show to recap. Yeah.
Absolutely. So is it better for me to do the show by myself with audience feedback, or just do all the shows with Garrett on Sunday night when he's available? Because those are basically my two options right now.
We'll see. All right, put your if you have thoughts, put them in the comments there.
Yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys, because this is a live fun show. I got to figure out AEW All In, and it's better to talk about New Japan while I figure it out.
All right, so we had the news after the July 4th show that Hiroki Goto would not be participating in the G1. And with that news, his spot would be filled by having a second chance gauntlet match among the losers of the play-in matches. So that meant Kojima, Chase Owens,
Right.
Taichi, and
Hell yeah.
Tomohiro Ishii, who
Yeah.
dropped those play-in matches, would be in a gauntlet match at Korakuen Hall, added in order to fill that last spot. Again, Jeremy, I go back to this, that Taichi talked all year about how he was embarrassed that he didn't get in the G1 last year and how bad it hurt him. Yoshihashi pissed off that he didn't get in and disappointed that he didn't get to participate last year. They come around this time. Yoshihashi saves us from Chase Owens, right? Defeats Chase Owens, keeps the House of Torture out. Taichi falls, though. He loses his match, and he doesn't get into the tournament, and he's crushed again and devastated. Although he, was encouraging toward Callum Newman that Newman did get in. He didn't, he wasn't a spoil sport about it. But he was deeply saddened. Then we find out there's one more chance for Taichi. I feel like this might have been the plan all along. I just feel like this might have been the story long they're telling all along.
I don't buy it for a second.
All right.
I just, this fell into their lap. I do believe Goto made the decision that he had to bow out because he felt like he couldn't compete on the full schedule. But the magic...
are you saying that he was actually injured in the match with Zach?
I think there's a reality that he was either injured going into it or, he did actually accentuate an injury. And they're like, well, we're already at the point where I know like we're screwed. So you might as well just make it look good.
Well, no, I mean, he may have gone into that match knowing I've got to drop this belt because I need my own. And then they did this whole plan with Taichi. I don't think they pulled Goto. I don't think that New Japan found out on July 5th that Goto wasn't going to be able to compete.
No, but I don't know if they knew going into the Tanahashi Jam that he couldn't be able to compete. I think there might have been a decision made after that. There's no benefit to not having Goto into this tournament. It works out. There's a lot of things that, line up really, really well, and it's very convenient. But that's also why you have good booking. Like they had people ready to go for this scenario. And frankly, the stars aligning for Taichi to get into the G1 this year. It's not even the play-ins, Steven, because, okay, the beginning of the year, you still had Naito here. You still had Jeff Cobb. And you had Goto in the mix. All three of those guys would have easily been in the G1 if they were still here. But they happen to not be here. So that's the first circumstance that kind of clears the way for a possibility of Taichi being in there. Then they do all the play-ins, and they're like, okay, it looked like Taichi and Ishii, we're just going to give you the tag belts, and when everything's all said and done, we'll probably set you up for some kind of feud coming out of that based off of everything that's going on. And then they do that. And then you have the play-ins, and you have Taichi just have a heartbreaker of a match and put the guy over and do the business right. And you see even in the backstage comments of that one, it's like, man, it really sucks. Like I really wanted this. And that was what, in July or June on the 23rd? That wasn't on the July 4th one. So like that emotion and that whole sense of regret that he had then made me feel like, okay, this is genuine. This dude is really heartbroken. The narrative that they had in that match where it was basically like he needs to win this match or else he's never going to be in a G1 again. That was words that they were talking about in that 23rd match, on that match on the 23rd. That to me says this was never on the radar that any of this happened. Goto getting injured, Naito leaving, Cobb leaving, all of these things, all the way up to the point of the gauntlet match. And then you get a gauntlet match. That's the magic of that gauntlet match to me, is that 2 days beforehand, this wasn't even a dream. That like wasn't even on the match listings. This all happens like, all right, you guys, we're gonna do this. We're gonna set up the match, and you're gonna talk about the match in here and what happened.
Yeah.
But here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give you a banger.
I'm still laying my money that they knew Goto wasn't going to be the G1 before Tanahashi Jam, and they
I would have loved to find out the answer to that one, and maybe I'll try to.
All right, so we moved on to July 6th at Korakuen Hall. A bigger crowd, a little bit. 1,489 was what was listed for Korakuen on the 6th. And so pretty well packed in, just about packed in. It's interesting, Jeremy, about Korakuen Hall, especially if you've been to it, which I have, and a few of the people here have. The idea that a full house is 1,700, like packed out, seems strange just because there are attendance listings that are well over 2,000 and approaching 3,000 in from the 80s and 90s, especially. I just wonder how the hell they did that, because believe me, it feels plenty packed in. When that place is full with like 1,500 people, it feels elbow to elbow. I don't not know how they got another. I mean, I understand.
The top floor of a building, right?
It's on the, what's that?
It's the top floor of a building.
It's like the fifth, sixth, and seventh floors of that office building next to the Tokyo Dome. Yeah, you get off the elevator, you're coming right down into basically.
But there are structures above it, like there's offices above it.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's another floor above it. Maybe not. The arena might be the top part of it, but it's interesting to me that I know they have they used to have the standing room only, like up in the balconies, where a lot of times like Stardom is putting their announcers up there now so they can sell more ringside seats. So they don't have the announcers at ringside anymore. They're up in the box. It's not really a box. It's just kind of an area with a balcony that has a ledge that you can lean on. And Zach was up there watching the Desperado Fujita. They used to pack that out with standing room only people. And that was just people crammed in there. And then they would cram them in more around ringside, I suppose, would be how they would do that. But having been in there, I mean, you are absolutely, those chairs are tiny. They are not made for Westerners. And it just staggers my imagination to think that 1,000 more people would squeeze into that place. So there must be some fire marshal stuff going on there. USVA guy, the tall tale of the bleachers and standing room. Okay. I'm not sure what you mean by tall tale. They absolutely used to pack out that standing room only, because I used to watch bootleg videos from up there. People somehow snuck in video cameras. I have a Kobashi Stan Hansen bootleg off of that. But
I set my appointment to get my passport done.
Oh, good.
For August. So
yeah,
it begins, Stephen. My trip to Japan. It begins.
Yeah, I'm curious. I know that people kind of fudge attendance and all that kind of stuff, but that was, numbers well over 2,000 things were reported in the Observer, like well into the 90s and stuff like that. So,
and hello, Esteban.
All right, so we have. We'll move on anyway. I was just curious about that, just because it feels packed in. Singles match: Tetsuya Matsumoto versus Zane J. Another time limit draw for them. I'll tell you what, Matsumoto is starting to do some decent promos in the back. He seems composed on the microphone. Zane already has promo experience, so he's fine. Matsumoto, as we found out from Chris Charlton, a former personal trainer, and looks like it. He looks like he is. He has a terrific frame on him, and he has good footwork. And
his nickname is not going to be Dump.
No, he did a good job. I think this guy, there's potential in this guy, and certainly Zane J. We've seen him wrestle. I mean, it is interesting to me that Zane J. has been completely torn down. I mean, all that stuff, the way he used to wrestle, it's all gone. He's completely.
I remember I looked at a photo of him and I didn't realize he had cornrows, and I just laughed.
Yeah, and USVA guy says most companies fudge it based on the standing room. Yeah, of course, I know, but it's. 1,000 people. And there's little doubt when I look at old tapes from the 80s that there is a different seating kind of configuration in there. They packed people in tight. The wrestlers for All Japan in particular basically had to turn sideways to get into the ring. They would squeeze the aisles and stuff like that. Anyway, I bet it was hot. Good Lord, I bet it was hot in that building. Fernando Zayas is here. Good to see you. And then after that, we had a development. Daiki Nagai and Murashima took on Yasuda and Shomakato again. This one only went 8 minutes, but it wasn't the point. Nagai and Yasuda went through their period of draw, right?
Right.
After that, they started getting wins when we started with these new guys, Matsumoto and Zane J. Then they started trading victories, mostly with the Boston Crab, still doing the very basics, Young Lion wrestling, a couple of new moves thrown into the move set, but nothing major, right? Well, 2 matches in a row, they had this tag between Nagai and Murashima, Yasuda and Kato. And 2 times in a row, Nagai tapped out Yasuda. Murashima is clearly the front runner of this group. He's been hurt the least, which is a big deal. So he's had more reps. He's the one that they tend to throw in with the main roster guys to do the job for, with Hantai and all that. And the others aren't really at that point too often. Sometimes Kato is. But here they've had Nagai tap out Yasuda twice in a row. Then afterwards, Nagai went back to the backstage comments and said that he was thinking about screwing up the courage to make a move today. And he says, I don't want to say too much. Well, he ended up shooting his shot a couple matches later. And then Shoma Kato mentioned that he wants to go to Mexico for his excursion. We'll see if that happens. And there was a development later on in the night that might tell us a little bit about his direction, perhaps. But most of the time, they don't just say those things randomly, the Young Lions especially. Mm-hmm. So it's very possible that Shomakato will be headed over to team up with Okamura and the rest of the guys over there in CMLL, perhaps. Again, nothing announced. But just the fact that he said he wants to go to Mexico, unless something changes, that feels
he
like...
might be going away for a year and a half. What do you think?
Might very well be. So right now, that is a heck of a place to work. They are drawing crowds everywhere they go. He would be in front of big audiences, even when it's not the Friday night show. The other shows are still doing pretty well, not doing what Friday night does, good grief. But Puebla and Guadalajara and Arena Coliseo, and it's terrific experience if he's able to go over there and get it.
That would be it would make him very, very, very good very quickly.
Yeah, and the last guy that really had an extended excursion over there was Wato. They really haven't sent anybody over there consistently. Tsuji was there a little while. Most of Tsuji's run was in Rev Pro. He did do some CMLL, but Wato was there for like 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, they're not really going to put a whole lot of attention on the guy. And I mean, he's just there to get reps and work. So do you put a mask on him?
Yeah, probably. I would imagine, especially considering what might be coming. And we'll get to all that. Then we had a 10-man tag after that. So we'll put that on the burner for now. And the guy is in the back trying to rev up his courage for something later. So we'll put that on hold for now. And then we had the House of Torture. That was Evil. Ren Narita, Sanada, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Yujiro. They were taking on a Hantai crew. And this is basically a G1 preview. We had Shota Umino on one side and Ren Narita on the other, so they couldn't keep their hands off each other. They had to fight. And we saw a little bit between Uemura and the guys. So Bolt Noleg was pissed off at House of Torture, and there were the usual shenanigans for the win. But this was really all about teasing some of the G1 matchups.
Yeah, I don't really remember much of this because I revisited a couple of these matches just to make sure that, I caught all the big stuff, and this didn't really feel like the big stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was a preview match. There.
I did kind of like seeing Shota and Yuya tagging together because the match that they were buddies, and I was like, I don't hate it. I don't hate these two in like the World Tag League together. Like that kind of.
Well, you know how well it went last time. Shota teamed with somebody from his crew in the World Tag League. That's why he's in this feud with Narita. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It felt natural for Shota Umino, and there are a lot of things that don't feel natural with him. So him having like a natural chemistry with Yuya was, I don't know, it was kind of nice to see it.
Okay. After that, we had a 6-man tag that was consequential. Hiromu Takahashi, Shingo Takagi, Yota Tsuji, they defeated TMDK. And it was quick, about 9 minutes and 50 seconds, according to the listing here. Most entertaining part of it was, for some reason, for reasons known only to himself, and Hiromu don't need no reason, Hiromu was in the mood to pick a fight with the biggest dog in the yard. He just decided he wanted Hartley Jackson. And it went about as well as you could imagine. Hartley threw him around Korakuen Hall like he was a Frisbee. And, that works, doesn't it? Jackson's good at this. He's good at the power stuff. Hiromu's good at bumping for stuff like that. So this was entertaining. And most of the guys kind of watched that for the most part. And then Tsuji ended up winning with a lariat on Jackson. Didn't give him the gene blast. Just did a lariat type of move. And then afterwards, Hiromu started saying that, I'm all on my own out there. I'm on my own with this stuff. And Shingo and Tsuji were just like, what do you want us to do? You're the one that wanted to fight Harley Jackson. And as they're leaving, suddenly they are stopped before they can leave by Daiki Nagai. And Daiki Nagai says, I want to join with you. Well, Shingo says, well, take that damn New Japan shirt off. And so he does. And then Shingo just kind of stares at him and says, all right, kid. And pats him on the back, shakes his hand, and walks off.
Don't think they were waiting for him.
And then they emphasized again that we aren't a faction. Remember this. We aren't a faction. Hiromu was just complaining that he didn't get help, that type of thing. But each of the three eventually gave their consent, and they gave him an unaffiliated shirt, which Daiki Nagai said this is the coolest shirt in wrestling right now, the one that just says unaffiliated in kanji, and I'm inclined to agree with him. The other thing I thought was funny, Jeremy, is over the past couple of weeks, Hazuki and Koguma from who have been kicked out of the Stars faction from Stardom were wearing an unaffiliated shirt as well, since they're not in a faction at the moment.
They have the opportunity to do the funniest fucking thing. Do you even know?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with this, but what do you have in mind?
They need to pull back the just four guys brand and have these guys steal it. No. And just four guys.
No.
Walking around because they're unaffiliated.
No. Yeah, it's interesting to me. There are a couple of things you could do with this, though. I wonder if it's a thing where they're like, they're hurt from Naito and Bushi leaving. They don't want to commit to anybody. But the idea seems to be that in the storyline here, that we will team together because in New Japan, you have to have teammates. You're going to be in a bunch of these preview tags. You want somebody that you at least know.
Like, we'll end up like tagging with a bunch of Hontai guys you don't like.
We'll train together. We'll push each other. But look, kid, you're on your own. Don't expect everyone to run out and save you if you get yourself in trouble. That's not what this is going to be. I think that seemed to be the ground rules they were laying out to Nagai, both at ringside and then in backstage comments later. It says this isn't some faction where it's all for one and one for all. We won't stab each other in the back. We'll team together. We'll push each other. But again, this isn't going to be a thing where if you get yourself surrounded by 9 people, good luck to you, kid. And that seems to be where they're going with this. And really, LIJ was a lot like that. The LIJ run-ins were few and far between once they were baby faces. Naito would have people, both Evil and Sonata, help Naito win the world title when they were heels, and as their debuts. Like, who is this guy? But their run-ins for one another, on behalf of one another, were few and far between, and they always got over big when they did it. Right. If Bushi and Hiromu came out when Naito was getting attacked by 3 people, it always got a big pop because it didn't happen all that much. Might be where they're going with this. So it's still very LIJ-ish, but I thought it was an interesting thing where they just said, we're a faction that's not a faction, essentially.
Yeah, they definitely have the vibe of don't bite off more than you can chew, kid, because we're not going to help you chew it. But it works. I think all of it works. I think Daiki Nagai has the disposition and he has the look that when he walked away and it was just the 4 of them, just those 4 guys, it looked right. It just looked right. Just those 4 guys.
All right. And then we will move on after that. We'll see how that develops. It's an interesting thing because the last person that joined a faction as a young lion was Fujita, and he never really went on excursion.
No.
So do they have it in mind?
Excursions are, they have the young blood guys still off and away, but is there anyone else?
Brad mentioned that. No. Brad mentioned he's still waiting for the return of Youngblood from their what feels like 4 years excursion. It does feel like a very long time.
Like, like World Tag League, they're going to be back by then or debuting or whatever. Like, it would be insanity for them to not be around for that and just make a debut and a big impact. But other than that, there's not really any room for them either.
No, I'm hoping. I would like to see them make some sort of an impact on World Tag League this year. We'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that was the development there. And then on the other end, so we had a Young Lion thing. So now we have Kato talking about his excursion. Murashima's not really, which I thought was interesting. Now we have Nagai joining up for the faction. On the other end of the spectrum, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Tiger Mask have the singles match next. Under 10 minutes. It was part of Tanahashi's final road, a kinship match. Obviously, these guys are certainly on the same side. And it was Tiger Mask's 30th anniversary in wrestling. And this match looked like what it was, which were two older wrestlers who just don't move very well anymore. Wasn't a great match. Tanahashi ended up winning it with a high fly flow. And, hands shaking afterwards. Again, this is part of Tanahashi's thing where he's going to have singles matches with just about everybody there. And this was Tiger Mask around his 30th anniversary. And in post-match comments afterwards, Tiger Mask revealed that he will be retiring next July on his 31st anniversary. So, Jeremy, my guess is that Tanahashi's retirement kept him from ending it on a round number, because with Tanahashi retiring in 2025, no one else is going to do so, because you'll never get the focus. You'll never get the attention. It's all going to be about Tanahashi. So this Tiger Mask leaving us in a year, for someone who grew up seeing the original Tiger Mask on tape later. There wasn't a whole lot of access to him in the United States when I was a kid. And then seeing the Misawa Tiger Mask a couple of times when he would come over, and then Kanemoto briefly. But to see Tiger Mask as a guy who does jobs in 8-man tags for the last 5 years, maybe more than that, maybe closer to 10, I'm a little relieved. I think Yamazaki's a fine worker. He seems to be a guy that helps the young lions out quite a bit, helps out in the dojo. And in his prime, Yamazaki was quite good as Tiger Mask. He's won the junior heavyweight title. He's won some best of the Super Juniors type of stuff. Seeing Tiger Mask as a job guy has been a little bit painful to someone who came up through wrestling thinking of Tiger Mask as a seminal, influential, even transcendent wrestler. The first Satoru Sayama, first Tiger Mask, changed wrestling. Absolutely changed the business. Junior heavyweight wrestling is partly due to him and that style. And Dynamite Kid and some of the other opponents he had. Misawa, one of the greatest of all time. Didn't like the Tiger Mask gimmick. Got rid of it as soon as he could. And the same thing with Koji Kanemoto, who is an outstanding junior heavyweight worker. Yamazaki was trained by Sayama, which lent him an era of authenticity to the character. And he was good in his prime. But there is with a little bit of relief that maybe we aren't going to see Tiger Mask like Tenzan, for instance, now, and that he can retire on his own terms. And maybe a year later than he wanted to, because of Tanahashi's thing. Retiring on your 31st anniversary is a little strange when you could retire on your 30th. But again, with Tanahashi's final road, there's no point. So a sense of relief right there. And I'm curious if they have a replacement in mind. And
that's what I was wondering. And I was going to ask you, if you think that they have somebody, one of these young lions down the line, like...
Yeah, and that
is
Brad
it
mentions
even too early to get there.
Yeah, well, yeah, and Brad mentions as well that the current incarnation of Tiger Mask has been the character longer than the 3 previous ones combined. Yeah, by a good distance too.
Can you? Okay,
I mean, Shomakato is the only real guy, though. I mean, Nagai isn't going to be Tiger Mask.
No,
Shomakato, maybe he's got to be a junior. Murashima's too big and thick to do it. I don't see Yasuda being there. I mean. And the fact that Kato is going to go learn Lucha Libre, maybe get used to wrestling in a mask. Remember, none of the other Tiger Masks were Lucha guys. So Sayama was
Tiger. I think he would have a hand in picking the next one.
Yeah, could be. It could be somebody we don't know. I mean, it might be down the road a bit. It might be Matsumoto. Who knows?
Can you do me a favor? I'm going to kind of go in a 145-degree direction from this, but.
Stop it, Brad. Stop it. Bring back Ibushi for the role. No.
Okay, this is what I had a question about. Is we watched Wrestle Kingdom 11, right?
Yeah, we did.
There was a Tiger Mask W. was this supposed to be the same Tiger Mask character because of the anime? Like, is this Tiger Mask the Tiger Mask in the anime, but they didn't have him do it? They had Ibushi do it at Wrestle Kingdom, or is it supposed to be a different version of Tiger Mask?
I think the Tiger Mask W was a reboot of the original Tiger Mask thing. So
Okay.
Tiger Mask and Tiger Mask W coexisted for one night. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember if Tiger Mask was on that show, but Tiger Mask W was a one night thing that was basically an advertisement for the anime. It was never really going to be.
But it was based off of this Tiger Mask, so I was almost curious why he wasn't in the Wrestle Kingdom match. Like, I'm sure he couldn't go at the time. It
have to ask Goto. I don't know.
But you know what I'm saying. It's like, if he was able-bodied and it was his gimmick, why did they put a Bushi in the mask other than they wanted a better match out?
To have a better match, yeah. The answer is to have a better match. Yeah.
Absolutely. But it was just like, he wasn't injured or anything. Yeah. They just benched him for a Bushi.
Yeah, and it was a reboot of the original story. I don't think it was the same story. It wasn't a remake, it was a reboot. If you want to get into the technicalities of it all. But yeah, I mean, Yamazaki, good, but probably finishes fourth of the 4 Tiger Masks.
I mean,
so
he was fine every time I saw him. He wasn't like.
But that's the point. Tiger Mask isn't supposed to be fine. He's supposed to be transcendent.
I hear you. I came after his peak in New Japan, so I don't have the affinity for him that other people do.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's all I'm trying to say. Like, he's just the Tiger Mask gimmick is cool. It will live on in another person. Amazing that he did 30 years. Like, more and more people are able to do 30 years of the wrestling business, and it's not easy. It's especially not easy to do it in Japan, of all places. And then I watched him crawl out of the ring after the end of that match. I'm like, boy, that 30 years, I bet you felt every bit of it, buddy.
Yeah, certainly. But he's, like you said, his body isn't ready for it anymore. And that is somebody, by the way, that you can see the difference between our rewatch Wrestle Kingdom 11. He was in there. I think he was in the Rambo. I think he was in the Rumble.
You know what? He might have been.
Yeah. Showed a little bit of a difference.
Still, like, yeah, we're just gonna look past. There's 2 different Tiger Masks. It's like,
I'm not sure. I have to go back and look.
2 different. We got Anakin Skywalker. We got Darth Vader over here. Like, they're both in this, but they're 2 different things. Just don't worry about it.
But it is interesting to see if they decide to put somebody else in it, and how they will go about doing so. So we'll see if there's I don't know what number this will be, because there have actually been other Tiger Masks between 4 and now that didn't last because of W and all. Anyway, I'll let other people figure out whether it's next one is actually Tiger Mask 5 or not. I got other things to do.
If they had Ninja Mac become Tiger Mask.
Oh. It's not terrible.
No, it's not, is it?
That's not a terrible idea at all. Not a terrible idea at all. All right. After this, things got flat out ethereal, because then we had the A block play-in gauntlet match. So this is the second chance. So of course, it started off with Chase Owens and Satoshi Kojima. It was according to the story here. This was randomly chosen. They had 4 people. They picked 2 out of a hat. And then, or 1 through 4, however they did it, they just announced Chase and Kojima are starting. We never really got the full skinny on that.
It made for a better match that way. That's why they did it.
Chase ended up pinning Kojima. So Chase moved on. And after that came Taichi. So Taichi came out, and, they were going back and forth. Taichi ends up beating Chase with a jackknife pin. So when that happened, the crowd started buzzing a little bit more here. I mean, they were into Taichi when he came out, just because Taichi's a sentimental favorite. When he beat Chase, there started to be a real buzz, because for a couple of reasons. 1, Taichi was getting close. 2, it's either Taichi or Ishii. So now we have good news either way, right? As soon as Taichi beat Chase, I knew that he was going to go through, because I don't think Ishii can handle a G1 anymore physically. And I think that's, otherwise, I think they'd have put him in it, because he can have great matches still. And this is case in point. Can he have 9 hard matches like that over the course of a month? Probably not anymore.
No.
So Taichi, it'll be a test for him at his age to do it, but he looks like he's willing and ready. So when Ishii and Taichi came out, the match basically kind of started over again. Ishii certainly didn't jump him or anything like that. And this match, Jeremy, one of the best New Japan matches of 2025. And it goes to what I've been saying for a while, Jeremy, is that the Goto Revolution, this big sentimental thing where Samurai Dad and he lost his father and everyone's been behind him. It's a different kind of thing, but there is a sentimental feeling in the crowd for Taichi too. And I said, if you know who would be next after Goto, it's Taichi. If Taichi got the big one finally, I think the place would go berserk because it's a different story than Goto, but the same type of thing where somebody who has been at the precipice but never there, finally getting it, and somebody that the fans love. Ishii is one of the best sellers in the business still when he wants to. Sometimes for the United States, I feel like he has boiled his act down too much to the point where it's just a few things, most of which involve forearming and staring at the opponent. Here, we got the old Ishii who was motivated. This was a G1 match. This was Ishii's G1 Climax. This was his one taste of the G1 this year, and he was going to put on a show.
You're going to make me break with the way you're saying it.
What? Am I?
You're gonna? I don't know. It's just funny. It's like it was a climax. He was just reaching out.
All right, but Taichi hit a lot of All Japan moves in this one. He used Toshiaki Kawada's power bomb. He used Mitsuharu Masawa's Emerald Flosion. He hit the lariat and backdrop suplex from Jumbo Tsuruta, including the shout to the crowd that Jumbo used to do. Fans really love both these guys, and this whole thing seems tailored to get Taichi to this point, this one final victory right here. And if Goto is actually hurt, then they handled it well by booking it this way. If this is all manipulation, then it's a little bit of genius there. If they have to take it off Goto, this is a nice distraction. This match was amazing. Black Mephisto finally finished it off. There was an actual explosion in the crowd. The people were into it all the way. Great stuff. And after a 4th of July card that was just kind of okay, this was a wonderful finish for the weekend.
Yeah, so this match was booked brilliantly because it played off of every single fear that it felt like the Western world had about Chase Owens and, Satoshi Kojima's in there instead of Fale. But had Fale been in there, we wouldn't have gotten this match because they would have had to lay it out completely differently that way. You had Kojima and you had Chase Owens. And Chase Owens beat him, and then House of Torture comes out to completely screw with Taichi during their match. And then you have Ishii as the cavalry coming in. Basically, no, we're doing this the New Japan way. We're getting rid of all these guys, and these two are going to have their match. And while, he cleared the ring, Taichi pins Chase Owens clean, and House of Torture is just gone. And then Ishii's over there. He's slapping him in the face. He's like, all right, get your bearings, buddy. We're going. And just that whole, get your bearings, buddy. We're going. And then I don't even know how long they went. But the priming of the final part of this gauntlet was fantastic. Because at any point, they could have given you Chase and Ishii to finish it out or whatever. But the minute Taichi came out third, you kind of knew where this was going because just Ishii, in my mind, was never going to be in the G1. Taichi is the perfect one-to-one replacement booking-wise for whatever Goto was going to do in the G1. The wins and the losses are a one-to-one transferable quantity, given the stories that you could tell about one of the older guys trying to hang and stay relevant. Everything worked. I think everything was just a fortunate scenario based off of the fact that, everybody's been booked without stupidity. Taichi, he's been given the short end of the stick, but he has been a company man for the last year. Even before last year's G1 and those plans, he has done everything, and he is just like, I don't want this to be the end of the road for me. I still love doing what I'm doing. I still love being a New Japan wrestler. And the fact that, there were 20 people on July 4th, and then suddenly there's 19, and you can just look at like, well, son of a bitch, Taichi, I guess it's you, buddy. And just the tears on his face, right?
Yeah.
Like my road isn't over yet. Like, my time in New Japan, my best days might be behind me, but this isn't done, and this company still needs me. I still have value. Like, I feel like I got all of that from him in that, like, in the ring. Just this validation of like, no, I still have something left to offer, and this crowd just it got me where I needed to be. And the brotherhood with him and Ishii, the roads that they've traveled for over 10 years, like the fact that they finally get to do like stuff like this, and just like everyone else, like you look around and all of their brothers are gone. Like they're like the roster is starting to thin out. People have died, people have retired, people have gone to other promotions, and you just kind of like, you're still here and you're still here. I'm like, you're my guy kind of thing. And I'm getting a whole lot of like, these two are brothers. That's what I get out of their relationship.
And Brad says, find you someone who loves you like Ishii loves Taichi. Yeah, they really do seem to be a tight unit. And thrilled that they're still the tag team champs. So there's still that story to tell too.
Yeah. And Taichi will have an opponent set up for them afterwards, and all will be well.
So we moved on from that. That wasn't the main event. It felt like it. It felt like it. Everybody was kind of collapsing back into their seats a little bit right there after this one. But we had an IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title match next, and a singles title match after that. But first, House of Torture, DOUKI and Show against Master Wato and Yo. This went about 14 minutes. It was good action, but this was what I was worried about with DOUKI, Jeremy. You were just waiting for the ref bump. And the action was fine, but this is the one that felt like nothing is going to go on until the bullcrap starts.
Right.
So you're sitting there watching these guys go through these motions. And then when the ref goes down, you're like, here we go. And it's not an ooh or a sense of anticipation. You're just kind of dreading it. And like, well, we got to sit through this, but none of it matters because none of this match doesn't really start until it goes wrong. And that's the way House of Torture is with this stuff. Nothing matters until the referee takes a bump. And then it's just stuff you don't really want to see, and that stuff that New Japan doesn't do well. This is an excellent example of that. DOUKI used to be one of the most fascinating people in the company. Now he's a guy where you watch him do moves until there's a ref bump and then shenanigans. And that's what we saw right here. So it's a big downshift. And this was a real bummer to me. Not because House of Torture won. I don't care. I didn't care that the babyfaces won the shenanigans in the never open weight 6-man tag team title match. It's that I just don't care for this style of wrestling. And so in the end, it was House of Torture shenanigans. They ended up winning. They hold the tag team titles. I mean, you just can't tell me that if these guys just had a match, it wouldn't be better than this. It would be. It absolutely would be. Sho and Yo are both good wrestlers. Wato is good. DOUKI, terrific. Why can't they just have a tag team match? Why do we have to do all this crap? It's a missed opportunity. And it ended up just kind of being a dud, especially after the G1 style match we had seen previous to it.
It's definitely like a bring it down match. I validate everything that you just said. Like,
nice.
I'm not going to disagree with a thing. However, I'm going to tell you this. I liked this match for one reason alone.
Okay, I'm listening.
Steven, it has been 8 months since I've seen my favorite move in pro wrestling. And I got to see the Suplex de la Luna, and I love that move. I
did hit that.
love that move. And I was like, oh, the Suplex de la Luna? Damn it, I have to like this match now. Like
it's your Sho Tenkai. I get it. It's your Sho Tenkai. I get it.
Yeah. It's just one of those. He hit it, and I was just like, it took me from it just did, and I'm not proud of it. Like I could be bought.
Okay, all right.
I can be bought. It's fine.
There you go.
That one hit the funny bone for me, so I was okay with it because of the finish.
I think you would really love all of Japan too. Like they have a guy that they does the delayed suplex right there, and it looks really great there. So yeah, there is something to it, doesn't it? And that little anticipation, that last chance for the guy to fight out of it, not to be ignored. as a dramatic pause in something, it's pretty cool.
Like
It's a
the
great movie.
delayed pause before he just like takes him and just crushes him on the back of his shoulders. I'm just like, that movie's so good.
As Colin said, it's House of Torture. All their matches are duds.
And if it was only like a month since I've seen the thing, I wouldn't care. It's been like before.
And
Wrestle Kingdom.
Jeremy on New Japan's payroll confirmed. You know,
that fake money coming in. The
yeah,
value
we're
of
rolling
the
it.
yen.
I was going to say they're paying him in the Okada dollars that used to float down during his entrance. That was what they're paying him.
Bucks. Yeah.
Rainmaker bucks. Hey, all right. So that was the semi-main. Thankfully, we had something else to deal with, and that was El Desperado against Kosei Fujita. So they had a match that I thought was very, very interesting, considering the two men involved, and I enjoyed it a lot. Junior heavyweight title match. Desperado coming in as champion, just went under 20 minutes. This was worked as a submission type of match. There was so much done on the mat with holds by both men, and it really worked. You had the ex Suzuki-gun guy with El Desperado, who, of course, is no stranger to pain. I thought it was interesting, Jeremy, by the way, that he came out in white and blood red. That was Despe's outfit. The black was gone. He came out in a white outfit with blood red trim, and I thought it was befitting of both a babyface run and perhaps Desperado's liberation from his demons with the Jun Kasai storyline. Because at the Jun Kasai thing, he said that he didn't care if he died in the ring. He didn't care if he died facing Jun Kasai. He was just going to put it all out there, and whatever happens, happens. And Kasai chastised him for that in a really interesting story, I thought. He said that this is when you should feel most alive. Don't go out here to die. Go out here to live. And then overcoming Kasai, winning that final match at Korakuen Hall, seems to have liberated him from that demon. And here he is in white. No, I really think that was...
I just thought of something funny that I would bring up afterwards. I'm so sorry.
Okay. But I thought it was terrific. And once the match started, we had the former Suzuki-gun guy, Desperado. You had Fujita, who is, of course, TMDK, working with Zack Sabre Jr., who was also a former Suzuki-gun guy, but also has that World of Sport background. And they traded submissions like crazy. They were in and out of each other's holds. They had interesting ways of getting to various submissions in this. And considering these are two guys who can have a run and bump match and do it very, very well, I thought this was a bold move that worked. And I thought it was an intriguing match. And in the end, Desperado ended up getting him in a nasty-looking version of the numero dos.
Holy crap.
and as Chris said, that was like a numero tres, the way he had his arms.
The way he got him was amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool. Terrific match. Afterwards, Desperado with nothing but love for Fujita, saying, "You're amazing. Don't feel bad about challenging and losing. Just keep, there's nothing wrong with that." He talked about how his challenge against against Kushida was laughable. He said it was just flat out cringeworthy. I had one with Liger that didn't draw flies, and yet I persisted. So don't be afraid to challenge again, and I want to see you back. So full blown Hantai Desperado, Hantai babyface Desperado. Fujita slunk out, didn't really have a whole lot else to say, but a terrific match, and it just shows that both of these guys, we know Desperado is well-rounded, but goodness, is there anything Fujita can't do? He had a submission match that worked, let alone his other stuff. This guy is, I'm more convinced than ever that Fujita is the total package in the future ace of the junior heavyweight division.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. 22 Super Junior Tag League winner, World Best of Super Juniors winner, already challenged for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, and they're just beginning. The Jun Kasai thing, I laughed because I suddenly realized I felt like that's where Tony Storm or Mercedes Moné cribbed their living in the ring and dying in the ring speech that they did last night on AEW on AEW Dynamite, and it was one of those like, okay, I see you, Tony. And so that made me laugh right there. And, they position these two guys, and they're clearly the two top baby faces of like the junior heavyweight division as of now. I think there's possibilities that TMDK can kind of all in a collective unit head in a direction that is probably a little less noble than it currently is.
Yes.
That remains to be seen, but you know, Oiwa made it clear that he wants to win in this G1, and that was the backstage comments that he had here. And Fujita losing here would also increase that kind of, you know, drive in the future and kind of win at all costs kind of thing, because, you know, he didn't win doing what he was doing before. And I thought this match was good, not great. I thought there were moments of brilliance in it. Especially in the closing moment, that spin when Fujita did the knee and Desperado caught the other leg and did like a spinning like move to catch him to the ground and then put him in the numero trace was just unbelievably quick and fast. But at the same time, it felt like they left a lot for future matchups. Like that's why I said it was good, not great, because I felt like it laid the groundwork for great stuff to come without like unloading the chamber. And that was the distinct vibe that I got out of this match. That it's really good, but I think that they can do better. And that was my thought.
I think that's true, and I think they worked this match as a submission type match with that in mind.
Right.
These two know this will not be. They might not have a date. They might not have exactly when.
These guys are going to be dance partners many, many times in the future.
Exactly. Yeah, and so I think, well, let's not throw everything out there, because we're going to have to find ways for this story to move forward, and we have to have some things left here to work through. There's a reason Desperado said keep challenging, because Fujita's going to keep challenging.
I am okay with all of this in hindsight. It's just when I was watching it at the time and feeling like they could have done more, all of these things. This was the World Tag League, you know, winner challenging the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. Theoretically, probably
Best of Super Junior winner.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Best of Super Juniors. Thank you for correcting me.
No,
this is theoretically I need to get it right if I'm going to stand on it. You know, this should be the second biggest junior heavyweight match of the year, right? And so to me, it's like unload the chamber, give it everything that you got. And it's okay that they didn't, but that was my mentality going into it. So when I say it was good, not great, it's not that it was bad. It's just that, you know, A- versus A+, if that's the best way to put it.
Okay. Well, very good stuff. And then Brad mentions here that this is a terrific match and a worthy main event. I love Despe. He's my favorite junior wrestler, but I think this might have been the wrong decision. It was Fujita's time. Well, I mean,
they want you to be mad for Fujita.
A little bit, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh. They want you to be like, so when you do get, can't wait for it to happen. It should have happened. Like they're priming it.
The other thing is, switching it now gets a little tricky only because the title's going to go on ice for a couple of months.
Right.
There's really not another opportunity for them to really do anything. Anything they do will be during the G1 gets overshadowed by the G1. It's a heavyweight tour. And so I think that maybe a better time to launch this. And again, we expect Fujita to be right back at Desperado, whoever the champion is, back at their throat soon. Down the road, maybe a bit when you can put the emphasis on it, because people are just going to be thinking heavyweight for a little while anyway. So certainly through the end of August, and then maybe a little bit into September. We still have King of Pro Wrestling. We still have Power Struggle. There's time to work our way up to that. And I think right now they might just want to you notice that we didn't have immediate challenges for either of the junior heavyweight titles after this. It's more along the lines of, okay, this is who's going to carry it through the summer. See everybody back in September a little bit. So
these two guys on the screen at Wrestle Kingdom, I think it's a 100% certainty that at least one of them is on a major match single card. It's possible that both of them are.
Okay. And then Brad also said, I love Zach watching from the upper level. Yeah, Zach was up in those that the standing room area I was talking about before. That New Japan isn't opening up to fans currently, and watching down over. I love that too. I think it shows support without threatening interference. It shows support without being distracting. You're sitting there. You don't. TMDK doesn't really interfere in matches. Same way United Empire are sometimes out for each other's big matches, but they don't interfere. I think it's an interesting way to portray the leader slash coach relationship, in that he is looking down on him from up high. He's
Right.
just and impassively. He's not jumping out and cheering. He's standing there stoically analyzing. You can almost hear Zach's brain whirring as he watches Kosei. Like, all right. And in storyline, he's thinking, okay, we're going to work on that on Monday. Okay, he needs to do that a little better. Okay, that was good. Like it's not done with him being a cheerleader. He doesn't need that. The crowd's into it anyway. So it's a good presentation to me of that mentor-mentee thing. Somebody looking down stoically and assessing the situation rather than have him down as a cheerleader. I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought his role was like the kingpin of New Japan, just watching over everybody, especially to just felt like the right message. So
it's
good
it's
show.
healthy. It's healthy sometimes for your champion to have a sense of a little air of mystery,
authority. Yeah, of authority and just
authority,
kind of,
mystery. Yeah, it works. I like it.
Like he's the big dog kind of thing. Like he can do whatever he wants. He's the IWGP champion.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I got here is we got a final G1 A block and B block that we can run down before our big preview next week.
Absolutely. And next week is going to be totally devoted to the G1 Climax tournament.
We're
going to look
talking
at
about G1.
every single guy in the tournament. We're going to analyze it and take a look. The schedule is out. We won't get into that here. We'll get into that big time next week, though, because as you know, the schedule tells us a little bit about who is going to be in contention throughout. So in the A block, you have the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, in what is his final G1 Climax. We have Taichi, the sentimental hero. Yuya Uemura, which means we're going to get Taichi and Uemura, the former teammates, and just 5 guys, just 4 guys, just 3 guys. They're in there together. Bolton Oleg is there. Yota Tsuji, Ryohei Oiwa, Callum Newman, David Finlay, Evil, and Sanada. Some things that jump out at me here. Again, we're going to get into the big time preview next week. Look at that run of Taichi, Uemura, Bolton, Tsuji, Oiwa, Newman. That's a nice round robin. That's a lot of really good singles. Finlay, too. A lot of really, really good singles matches. And we will at least see Evil versus Sanada, so there's going to be something with that.
4 Hontai, 2 House of Torture, Bullet Club, United Empire, Unaffiliated, and TMDK for the top bracket. Interesting. There's going to be 1 top Hontai. I wonder who it's going to be.
In the B block, we will have Shota Umino, El Phantasmo, Yoshihashi, Shingo Takagi, Zack Sabre Jr. Now that's a nice little round robin there in and of itself. Great Khan, Gabe Kidd, Drilla Maloney, Ren Narita, and Konosuke Takeshita. That's the B block, which is intriguing in a couple of different ways.
I really like that B block. I know that people are all about that A block, but I kind of like that B block.
Yeah, I'm kind of an A guy on this one too, just because of the quality of the matchups that don't involve Evil and Sanada doing House of Torture shenanigans. But there's great stuff in that B as well. I mean, we're going to see a rematch of the finals from last year, Shingo and Zack, Takeshita in there. So we got what is it? A lot of the people that were in the playoffs, the knockout part in B block right there. So the key guys.
So the only first-time guy is Ryohei Oiwa.
Yeah, I think that's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only guy having his debut.
Cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
What if he had a run? What if he just ended up making it on it? He won't, but it would be pretty funny if he, he's the only debut and he just ends up squeaking in 3rd place.
Yeah, Oiwa was in a tough spot, isn't he? Because you just feel like 2026 is going to be a lot bigger for him than 2025.
Yeah, based off of the the get up and go of the other young lions from 2024 and 2025. It feels like he's got to wait his turn maybe a little bit.
Yeah, there's other stories to tell. You can't push everybody at once. So I think that this may be just time for Oiwa to get his reps and hang back, and then maybe 2026. Maybe we'll find out we're wrong, but it does. So the tea leaves are reading like 2026 might be a bigger year for Oiwa than this one. But.
All right. So check out the watch back of Wrestle Kingdom 11 that we did last week with fearless leader Garrett Gonzalez. At some point, I'll be back to talk about AEW All In and perhaps other shows, depending on just the way the wind blows and how I'm feeling at 6 p.m. on Saturday night. And then we're going to be back to go as long as we're going to go. Next week, going to be a supersized show. Just going to be us two, but we're going to go hard. We're going to go strong. We're going to climax 35 times for the G1.
All right. And Colin wants to mention, remember, Sumo begins on Sunday. That's right. Here it is. My own Osato towel. I'm ready to go. We have 2 Yokozuna now, Jeremy. It's going to be exciting stuff. That starts this weekend. Maria Graciela Sayas says this is going to be excellent, referring to the G1 Climax. And there's going to be some terrific matches. We'll see if it is indeed excellent. But I always get kind of wound up for G1. So I'm starting to feel it this time of year. I worry about how much House of Torture is going to be in my G1. But I want this to be good. But the next month is going to go a long way toward telling us the true direction of this company. And I'm a little nervous. If it goes wrong, it's going to go real wrong.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Yeah, it is. And we're going to be keeping an eye on those attendances as well. Let's
Brad Cook, another fun show. Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and thanks for joining us. And as always, to everybody who joined us here live, we appreciate your time. Like I said, we know your time is valuable. We're grateful that you spend it with us. And the same thing goes out to anyone who watches this or listens to this later as a podcast on YouTube. Thanks. Jeez, it's so much fun talking to you guys each and every week. And we will be back next Thursday. So for Jeremy Finestone, I'm Stephen Conway. This has been Speaking of Strong Style. And we will talk to you again real soon.